We got a sub right when we started today. Good morning, guys. To make sure that if you are not watching this video live right now, that you can tune into the last 15 minutes of the little show here, because we actually do break down every single stock that we cover in our normal videos on YouTube. If you miss out on the live video, come back for that, nighttime video every single night. But today we're going to be paying attention to those daily risk ranges for the SPY and the Qs. We're going to be looking around at a bunch of other stocks, seeing if we're seeing any kind of pullbacks with the strong move that came on Friday. Really looking at AMD, seeing that continued strength. So a lot of good stuff to pay attention to, especially to see kind of what's going on before Jerome Powell. And good morning. Get your coffee ready. We already had a sub, Wesley. If Wesley's in here, welcome, welcome. Thank you for subbing. Oh my goodness. So good. All right. Opening bell in about 11 minutes. There it is.
Consumers' psyche, and I do think that matters. But at the same time, I have to admit it is fragile. It bears watching, no pun intended. But we're hopeful on that front.
Laurie.
Yeah. Okay. But good morning, guys. Say hey in the chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We'll be live all week long. Hopefully you guys got some of those weekend videos. You got your ranges ready. If you don't have those ready, actually, I'll pull up the SPY so you can at least get those going. Here we go. We'll leave it on here for a moment. Just make sure you guys got these levels marked off today. Kind of tells you, hey, if we continue this strong move, maybe we'll find resistance up in this area. If we need to pull back first, that'd be a great little ABC, right? Boom, down, up. On Amazon just looking like from a risk to reward standpoint, I think that's overall what we've been saying. It doesn't look the best. You have triple divergence across the board on the MACD and RSI, still same time at this point. So we have to go into like a shorter time frame, but I don't think it's like game over yet, right? I wouldn't necessarily say that. Paying attention to my weekly ranges over on Patreon, but overall the assessment yesterday or last night's video was watch this MACD on the 30-minute. This is able to turn back up. Good shot that we're going to see a higher price or a test, maybe come test the weekly expected move. But if we dip down a little bit too low, I'd be open to some kind of right shoulder forming here. Get a little left head, right shoulder. This measured move will bring you down to here. And then in this grand scheme of things, you get a big left, a big right, a big head, and then a big right shoulder. So that's overall what I think is going on. Do you think it's a good idea to change from stocks to crypto? No. There's a date in crypto, I think it was March 29th for Bitcoin, when Euphoria was at its like highest, and then it crashed by, let's see, in a week. Okay, so then in 3 weeks, I think it was like, I thought it was March. Yeah, it's like March here. This whole price action here was like peak Euphoria. And then it dropped off a few weeks later by 20%, and then by 25%, it lost almost 45%, I guess. Probably a little bit lower than that, probably about 40% from the top here in 2 weeks. So, yeah. Peak Euphoria. I look at it from like I missed out on the move perspective, if that makes sense. Like, that makes better sense. Just being like, is this a good time to buy? I missed out. The good time to buy was probably right down here at this crossing up on the MACD, saying, hey, positive territory, we can go a little bit higher. Boom, maybe buy at this bar, it's above the 200. Take that good bet with that probability there. Boom, you get a big ABC. So I would rather have invested here as far as this goes. Even if it goes to 100,000, I'm gonna be like, darn, I still should have invested here, not here, from a risk to reward standpoint. Hopefully that was not the too long of an answer. Holy crap. Google looks a little bit better. Google looked a little wonky Friday. Coming down a little bit here. That's okay. Maybe you get a little 2-hour divergence and then we get a pop. This low is very important. This is what we talked about live last week. Someone was asking right here, where's my next level? It's right here at this low. We hold up right at that level. So we're not able to close below this yet. Keep that in mind if we could still get some kind of double bottoming. But I'm not going anywhere near this. I mean, you see the divergence here, but until this goes up towards positive territory, this doesn't look the best. Jab, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to say hi to Jab. Yeah, so it came down into our level here. Now you can still get a bounce overall from this area, right? We have wedging going on too, for the most part. We probably consider this some kind of, pretty much I would consider this like price starting to get tight again. Boom. And now maybe we see that explosive move up or down. Right now, trend negative. No real divergences yet, so we'll have to see if a small one's able to be made, maybe on the hourly. But that's what I'd say about that. AMD still moving higher. That's one I'm going to keep my eye on. Nvidia heading higher as well. Paying attention to my weekly ranges for these over on Patreon. Tesla seeing that weakness come in. This is going to be pretty important area, right? The little range it's trapped in. It's in kind of a range. We're at the bottom of that range starting off the day. We're on 198.50 and then 205.26. Is Nvidia divergent? Nvidia actually doesn't really have divergences. I mean, you probably have them on the shorter time. Actually, you don't even have them on the shorter time frame. So last night's video is more saying Nvidia just kind of like Bitcoin risk to reward perspective. At this point, you'd say, oh, I missed out on this big move. Even if it goes up to 1,000, I missed out. And then you would say, I still should have bought, you know, back down when the weekly crossed into positive territory. The second time you should have bought, right? When that crossing of the MACD, it's true for the weekly as well. Well, let's see when that crossing happened. Right on this bar as it's breaking out of a range that it's been in. Boom, to the upside. This is where I would have placed my last buy and then see that thing rocket up for a while. Look at that. The bummer, I missed out. That's overall how I treat Nvidia, and I just trade other things. I bought at 120, sold at 700. Damn, that's out. That's freaking awesome. That is so crazy. Oh yeah, Palo Alto. They're flat to open the day. Well, you're doing a good job with it. Now holding, said I sold in the first place. Oh no, don't ever be sad. If you go from 120 and you sell at 700, that is one of the best trades you'll ever make. Like, come on. That's like crazy good. How often do you get a times 7 your money pretty much? Like, come on. 6, whatever. Yeah, don't beat yourself up when you get a big win. Like, that's just a mental oopsie, because that's a good win. You shouldn't be going, ah, darn. You'd be like, dang, I just multiplied my money by 6 or whatever. SPY dropping off early in the day. Small caps bouncing pretty good. Hey, that's alright. You rode the wave, though. Didn't think it would get higher than 200. Well, it did. That's the point. Sorry about the camera, too, guys. God, bummer. Shining into this light. I'm trying to block it. Yeah, I would never be bummed out if I multiplied my money by 6 or multiplied my trade, whatever. Got a good one. Was able to 6 times whatever I was putting down. Never going to be bummed out about that. Good morning, Junior. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, but it is now time to sell Nvidia. I already gave like a risk to reward perspective on the weekly scale. I would just say I missed out on the move. I myself would not buy here. That's just all I could say. Can't tell you guys really what to do, but it's like, you know, I can't tell you what to do, but I can say, would I invest at this level? No. Especially when we have Jerome Powell talking this week and CPI next week, and CPI last time ticked up. It's just no. Too much down the pipeline for volatility. Apple opening lower in this zone. See if it's able to hold up in there. We'll watch this at the open. This is not good. Yeah, that needs to buy up fast. My goodness, that is at the low of our zone. Look at that. Man, are we marking stuff off well or what? Oh my gosh. I don't necessarily use volume profiles. I watch some people who use volume profiles, and I look at their levels, but other than that, I don't really use it. Mike Schwartz is pretty good. I like his channel. Volume. Oh, it's past 135 now. That's really not good. That's bad. hate to say it. That's pretty bad. To start the week like that is kind of crazy. You know, one thing about Apple, I can still look at my ranges. That's where these are really useful. Things are really dropping off. Yeah, we're already almost to the bottom of the range. It's kind of crazy. Meta selling off pretty good too. This is when you have the weekly ranges for, so, and the monthly. So this is what I'm talking about with the 30-minute. I want to see if this crosses for some time on Meta here. Kind of what we were saying in the video last night. Just see if this was able to cross back up positive territory, because I don't know if I trust this divergence here. It's just on the MACD, not at the RSI at the same time. So, oh my lord, it's in free fall. Free falling. Yeah, Google is just, it's rocketing down. Google and Apple are telling you that something is wrong. Either that or they are going to start popping, and we're going to see a blow off top like all the way across the board, because if Apple and Google start to participate, everything's going to go up. That's not fun. But I wouldn't really be too worried about Apple until it breaks through this zone. Sorry. Oh my goodness. This zone could probably even be a little bigger down to the bottom of these wicks, honestly, because we've had a few of them. And we use that level as resistance right here, so 173. But we'll keep our zone the way it is for now. Amazon getting some strength in there. Palo Alto, I was paying attention to a 2-hour for the most part. It wants to load. Day shaving to be bearish. Yeah, this is the kind of action on the, what is that, on the weekly side, those weekly ranges. If we start to see selling, this is where I start to think, oh, it might go to the bottom of the weekly now. Let me look at this, see what's shaping up, and then just say to yourself, hey, if we get outside of that weekly range early on in the week, good chance that we do see some kind of pop, even if it is just a lower high. We usually get some kind of reaction back into the zone. Unless Black Swan starts to happen and things just go nuts. Tesla really starting to sell off now. This is actually really bad for Tesla. You have divergence on the 2 hour. This is something I didn't point out on the video last night, but I did notice there's 2 hour divergence on Tesla right now. So that usually likes to roll over the daily. So if you start to break through here, I think that daily is going to roll over and you're seeing Tesla head lower. But yeah, so thank you for showing up to the live video. This is something I was looking at the other day. I just really thought there'd be some reaction up to fill that gap first. Then we see the resistance come in. Good morning, Mr. English. How we doing today? Enzo, thank you so much for subscribing. What up, man? Make sure to hit that like button this morning, guys. I just can't imagine Google below 130. Yeah, it's about to be. I mean, you might in the near future have to imagine Apple being worth $50. That's the cold hard truth here. You might have to deal with Meta. I mean, we talked about this a little bit. You might have to deal with in your head Meta. You got to think the last downturn, well, it turned lower than the COVID low. So Meta could see extreme weakness. This is a very volatile move. We could really see Meta pull back all the way down to something like a 280 before we get some kind of bounce. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, oof, risk to reward standpoint, this does not look pretty. Yeah, I believe it's like I have like a $52 mark marked off for Apple in the, over the next year or two. I think it'll probably get down to there. Maybe it takes 3 years. I don't know. Meta able to buy back up now, not even looking like it's about to go flat here. Good for them. Tesla, one we'll keep our eye on. Apple buying up from the bottom of the zone that we're paying attention to. Literally tap the bottom like to the T, so. Like to see Nvidia less than 800. I don't know if it seems like people are still rotating into this, maybe like selling again out of Tesla and things like that. We know that Tesla people have switched over and become part of the Nvidia train. Definitely possible people could still be rotating out of these names, out of these Apple, Google, Teslas, and starting to rotate even harder into Nvidia and AMD. That would be a freaky thing if that was going on, because that just says, hey, Nvidia's a third of the Q's, revenue. So if they see a drop off in their stock, they're going to really affect the Q's. To the point where it's like, if Nvidia sells off, it might sell everything off, because things will start to go hit below levels that we haven't seen yet. Throughout this bullish run, we haven't lost like any ground really. Well, we sped up the crash timeline to like March, the first quarter of 2022, but good move. AMD 15-minute probably forming, but might still just be overbought on the 15-minute here. Yeah, nothing really going on. RSI might rise to 200 before. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's blown off to the top side. I'm not saying it can't go to 1,000. People can rotate out of names and we can get that to 1,000, but My perspective is I already missed out on the overall move. If I was trading it, I would have probably just traded it without options and looked at the weekly side of things in that way. There's bad signals up I put on a 3x ETF. Yeah, people do that all the time, like short the TQQQs and things like that. Those options should not be very long, and you probably shouldn't put a ton of money into them because it can be very volatile. If this just goes up like it does right now, I mean, it's still flat. Even if it remains flat, you still lose out. So, well, I mean, pretty much what we were talking about last night is still happening. We're still just consolidating sideways and down a little bit, and then see if that's able to curl back up. Good shot. We at least come to the top of that daily, maybe even by end of today. So. We got some new subs in here. That's great. Yeah, 2,000 wouldn't be bad. I guess if you do 75 bucks every time for however many times it takes, say 10, you still end up on top, I think. Tesla breaking through. Jeez, that is kind of crazy. Now you are in another point of liquidity here. We can see a bounce, maybe see a right shoulder formed. But that is pretty bad to start the day. Apple was starting to go towards the lower side of our big range we've been paying attention to, the support zone. Not good news. If Apple starts to flush below that, you can start to use it as resistance. Not looking forward to any of that. Let's see. Meta still flat. Tesla really breaking through, but Nvidia starting to go higher. I really think this could be Tesla people rotating to Nvidia right now. It's just slowly going up, and Tesla is slowly going down.
Be delayed. Inflation may become to be more accepted than it was in the past 2 decades. All bad news for fixed income investors.
I'll be right back. I'm going to use the restroom, guys.
High quality, most rate sensitive, most inflation sensitive part of the fixed income market, which is unfortunately most fixed income investors. That's why in our prudent yield strategy, we focus on parts of fixed income that can avoid those risks.
And in that prudent yield strategy, you know, I was talking about credit spreads a little bit earlier with my last two guests. I was talking about the differential between triple B to double B. I mean, they are so razor thin. So can you just stand up and justify the prudent yield strategy?
Sure. The idea is you've got to take risk somewhere. Most investors, you know, got a wake-up call in 2022, the realization that they were taking much more inflation risk, much more interest rate risk than they might have realized after 2 decades in which those weren't really serious risks that people cared about. We think they are worth caring about in a world that's now much different for the next 20 years than the past 20 years. That means for us, credit risk is much more attractive. That means sectors of the fixed income market, like fallen angel corporate bonds, emerging market debt, floating rate loans, even preferreds, convertibles, high yield munis in a taxable account are incredibly attractive. Those are smaller parts of the market, but we think they offer much better value for a long-term investor.
Just contextualize the emerging market and bond and equity potential return for me. I'm a US investor. Why would I want, I mean, I presume if I step out, I look at a hedge basis into EM, but what kind of return can I get on equity and bond in EM?
Emerging market equities, you can get high single-digit returns fairly easily. In fact, maybe contrary to what we might assume, emerging market debt has outperformed historically emerging market equities on both an absolute and risk-adjusted basis. It's been worthwhile to be in the debt of these countries. I think it's particularly attractive now because so many emerging market countries have improved the quality of their balance sheets, adopted a more sober fiscal position. They also have many of the same growth characteristics that investors 50 years ago loved the United States for so much. Favorable demographics, high growth, improving productivity, adoption of new technology, all the same kinds of things that you look for in emerging market countries. We typically look at China as a separate investment decision, but the rest of EM has a lot of those strong long-term features with much better balance sheets today to support a debt burden.
Jared, great context there on the EM trade. My guest this morning on All Things Markets. Coming up on the show, bad news for Biden in the polls as we head into Super Tuesday.
I think Biden's people will do what they did in 2020, which is to get out the vote and not take any of those votes for granted.
Never take the voter for granted. The details to come on Bloomberg.
Bloomberg has enhanced search on the terminal to deliver what you need when you need it. Now, you can simply type phrases in everyday English in the command line. Compare financials. Find people. Analyze markets. You can enter phrases or ask questions. What do you want to know today? Ask a question or visit SearchGo to find answers now.
Liquidity is the lifeblood of an airline. We make very conservative decision making about when we raise funding and how we raise funding. We try to diversify our sources, and we're always very focused on the actual rates. And we like to build in flexibility in these financing structures so that we have an opportunity to prepay debt when appropriate, so that we can continue to optimize the overarching rates that we're paying.
What have you learned with the dynamic move of the interest rates that we've seen from Chairman Powell? I mean, do you go fixed structure or floating structure, much more like what they do in Europe?
Yes and yes. We have a mix currently. It's a little bit of a different model than
We're back.
what I was used to in the public company space.
We're back with the crap camera.
In some ways, we provide ourselves with a natural hedge, leaving some of our debt floating and some fixed.
You have to have the short-term discipline to sort of
Apple able to break through, not the best sign. But remember, that zone could go a little deeper, but I'm paying attention to that weekly expected move at this point.
Because things change by the day. I know the folks
Down just a little bit lower.
Right now,
this is where it's expected to go.
Large, pockets of investment in the future. So I want to be in front of them. They may not be a buyer at this point, but I do want to spend a lot of time in front of that other set that is a buyer at this point.
Google.
They want to be an early adopter of the stock. They're interested in the story.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to the world.
Welcome to the world. What I said to Ari when she was born. Welcome to the world. Palo Alto's starting to drop off a little bit more. I'm closing a weird cup a little bit further. Getting the handle now. See if that's able to roll over negative territory on the 15. Maybe we go down in this zone down here. Yeah. Nvidia still seeing that strength come through. Tesla looking real weak right now. Yeah, Cassie, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I mean, I get it. From a perspective of a daily, you'd be like, hey, this thing's been beat down for quite some time. Now we're going to get a big reaction. You'd say, hey, this thing's been coming down. This is a big pullback, but you're below the 200 at this point. So any kind of pops could drop on you for Tesla. You're below the 200. Not good. You want to take that 200 back, then we can talk. Look at that move. Look at that squeeze. My goodness. Whew. Well, guys, that's not pretty. That's pretty rough. Well, we expected us to consolidate or pull back early on. That's overall what we were thinking, right? So now we just have to pay attention to what we were talking about. So 15-minute, if that curls back up, we can see another positive move. No real divergences here. Strong move. So this could just be gradual profit taking while we want to head higher soon. Maybe people are trailing into Nvidia here. Tesla looking just awful. Meta now down 1%, and then Google down almost 3% now. We might see that $130 price of Google here. Now you'd see probably some kind of bounce just before that. I mean, looking at this, you could see a little bounce maybe from 131.50 and then all the way down to 129.68. Probably something to pay attention to at this point. But dropping off a cliff, not a good sign. Then also not a good sign when that stuff's dropping off a cliff. That keys aren't moving down very much. SPY's not moving down very much. So that just tells you, hey, we're in a bubble. If AI starts to suffer, if the Meta, AMD, Nvidia, what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Amazon's up there too. Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, Meta, if all those start to sell off pretty good, it's going to be rough. You're going to actually see the keys come down. Right now, think about it. Apple's down 2.47%. Tesla's down 4.5% at this point. Google down 3%. Keys haven't really felt that yet. Still a little mixed up here. Goodness, they gotta be talking about this. The shutdown deal.
And you know, when you think about tax rises, I sometimes laugh because when the Democrats had control of the executive branch, the House and the Senate, they weren't even able to close the carried interest loophole and left a lot of the Trump-era tax cuts in place. But a lot of this is also going to be the president trying to speak to different constituents within the Democratic Party.
Do you think it still holds as much sway as it formerly did, or in this Instagram communication process? They're trying to find their communication mode, and it's not in the State of the Union, Anne-Marie, in the speech.
Well, the State of the Union is going to be important, I think, for more how the president delivers the message.
Okay, yeah, we get it. Think VIX might go over 20. That's something I haven't looked at today. Did VIX break out of this? Yes, it did. So there's your divergence there on the VIX. Boom, broke out. See if this is able to come up, but we could get some rejection early on. Wouldn't be surprised though if we do see some volatility. This would be nice. We come up into this level, get yourself a little head and shoulders on the way up. That would be dope. VIX sometimes just moves like crazy though. So now that it's broken out, just want to see, hey, is this able to get into positive territory on the 2 hour? Good sign we're going a lot higher with volatility. Maybe we are going past 20. Congress this week, I believe it's Wednesday. Let me see if I can find the time. But yeah, Wednesday would be the next time Jerome Powell starts talking. PMI, or ISM Services PMI tomorrow. He starts at 9 a.m. and then we get the jobs numbers at the same time. Funny that every single big company is laying like 20% of their workforce. They're laying them off. That jolts job openings. Any jobs numbers keep coming out like, oh, everything's fine. People still are good. It doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, 9 a.m. tomorrow, which will be live. Or not tomorrow, sorry. 9 a.m. for Wednesday. And Wednesday's when we can stay a little longer, so we'll try to stay while he is talking, kind of see what we can read into. Yeah, you go higher correction is more likely. I haven't looked at SMCI in a minute. Oh, I don't keep it on my charts either. I mean, another huge move here. There's the consolidation. There's the breakout. I mean, I don't know if you guys see what I'm seeing. Kind of like this. that. Boom, there's your breakout. Damn, this thing could go pretty freaking high. I mean, I think you're in a time now. I think something bad's happening soon. Like in the next couple of weeks. It looks like something awful is about to happen with how this stuff is moving and how Apple is moving in the other direction. It's not looking good. I would just say this is the bullish craziness that convinces you to get in at tops. Is what I would say. Even if this thing goes to 1,300 over the next 4 days or whatever, or week, I'd just be like, if you get caught up in this kind of mentality, this bullishness of these SMCIs of the world, this Nvidia stuff, it's not gonna be pretty, because once this sells off, it'll sell off hard because it hasn't really sold off yet. Right? That's why you're saying correction. Like, for what this was just like a simple retest during a huge uptrend. Little retest of the 20. We come up, we get the cup, and then we start to head higher. So this wasn't even like that bad. Boom, you expect a little bit of craziness. Now you're booming again, creating some kind of divergence at this point. So you could have divergence up at these highs, but if you look, that divergence might be quick. So that means if something's going to happen, it could happen in the next few days probably. And I'm really leaning towards, I think that's all this market has left. This thing has been nuts. Doesn't mean I trade that way just because I think that, but it's still just like, I'm not going to get caught in the euphoria at all. I won't touch it. When you see this on the other end, a stock that's proven to be good over time is selling off like crazy. Go to college. I did. I have a degree in business administration. No one hiring other than part-time. Yeah, a lot of places here are actually struggling to hire, which is interesting to me. But maybe, or they cut hours, and because it doesn't say it doesn't seem like they're really trying to hire, so maybe they're just cutting their hours. They're open less of the day now, and things like that at like the gas station near me. No, it's bad when gas stations can't stay open. Yeah, we wanted to look at Nvidia's max pain today, didn't we? Have a look. Sounds like fun. It updates in the morning, so this is good stuff. It's interesting. I'll pull it over. Oh, there we go. It's interesting. All right. Nvidia, where's our call wall? 1,000. Nvidia could hit 1,000 this week, and it would make sense. Holy crap. Now, this is pretty bullish, 0.78. So if you're a contrarian, you have to think of this. If it's not getting up towards 1,000, guys, and it holds below 1,000 by end of week, it can easily see some people get scared out of these positions here, and it could go this way on you. So be a little bit careful, but there's your 1,000 call wall. 850 is a call wall as well. We're there right now, but that would be awesome. We get to 1,000 and then it just crashes. That's wild. But you see Nvidia's at that 850. That's that first put wall. So you should expect a little something here. So try to hold you back. Weekly range for this, if you're part of the Patreon, this is up here is where you need to start paying attention to your weekly ranges. If you're on the Patreon, you got those weekly ranges for Nvidia here. You start to pay attention to the top side of that, because this is a pretty strong move to open the week early in the week. And the same the other direction though. Apple early in the week coming down to its weekly expected move as well. So if you're part of the Patreon, you're paying attention to a lot of things. We're gonna have a lot to talk about in our update video on Wednesday. For actually no reason, by the way. Must be going up today the way they are. Yes, and I think that is euphoria in the names. And I literally think these people who are selling off Tesla, and like Palo Alto, Tesla, what was the other one? Google, all these things. I think they're rotating. I think they're rotating into Bitcoin. I think everyone's rotating into Bitcoin or Nvidia right now. This is literally what you do not want to see. This is so bad. You want to see AMD and Nvidia consolidating while other stocks are starting to creep up, like start to turn around, like Apple starts to get a reaction and start to head upward. You don't want to see money just piling in, because once Nvidia does sell off, it'll sell off very, very rapidly. Thankfully, though, it's holding below 850. I think where I'm more talking about that happening is probably like around that $1,000 mark. That's where I'd start to be like, oof. Goog touches the daily 200. Is that where 134 was? Yeah, literally dinks off the 200 here. You're getting some kind of reaction at this point, so now you have to see this even if this is a good bounce, this could just be a good bounce to go hit a trend. You're still in a downward trend here. You could even get this to break up, get a full retest, and all this could be like big steep flagging. So there's a bunch that could happen now that we hit the 200. If that starts to keep selling off, that would be not good. I know Palo Alto, people were paying attention to this. We overall were just showing you guys what normally happens with these Bollinger Bands. If you get way outside of it, boom, you get way outside of it like this. Well, a lot of the time before you want to keep selling off, you want to reconnect with these moving averages here, and boom, we start to ride those down. So we could see this come down a little bit lower, maybe get another reaction off the 200. So Nvidia at 1,000, big short. I'd say if Nvidia gets over 1,000, that would be something to research. Ask yourself, would people buy this dip? They're rotating into small caps. Okay, cool. That's good. The thing is, if you just look at Nvidia from a, I guess, an investment standpoint, you would just want to look for places where you could see that reaction. So, just like we did here, this is a simple thing, right? We ran up, we test off the 9. We ran up, we test off the 9, then we test off the 20. We ran up, we hold above the 9, now we're up here. So you'd say, okay, I'm at least going to test the 9. I might even go test the 20 before this actually wants to head higher and come up like that. So you're still waiting for a structure if you wanted to trade this, but I think it could come all the way down to like 742 before we get any more positivity back in. And if it does that quickly, though, and that's pretty violent, then that violent selling can just keep going. And we could come all the way down to this point. You guys know this is where I'm really paying attention. We've drawn this out a few times. This level right here at these lows, this kind of base here, 661, and then I'm expecting some kind of dead cat bounce to come up like this, get us back up towards even 750, and then we see that drop off. That's my opinion, right? None of that has to happen, but at this level, if we see Nvidia sell off, it can be way more violent than people expect. So that's my full opinion on Nvidia, what I think is going to happen. I don't think it's a bad stock by any means, but I think we're in a bubble right now and it's going to see lower prices. Amazon's still creeping up higher, creating that divergence on the daily. IWM still holding this divergence here at this point. This is what we were talking about with possibly a double top happening, kind of in a wedge structure actually on the way up with IWM. So maybe not from this low, but you definitely got it from this one. Got a little bit of tighter price action coming. Boop, 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 boop. What if Fed increases rates? That would mean that they are very scared that inflation is coming back. And if inflation comes back the second time after a rate raising campaign, if you weren't able to fight it off, it comes back even worse, which means we could go into hyperinflation. So if they're actually going to raise rates, they will most likely be fighting hyperinflation to do that, making sure that doesn't happen. That would really upset the market. Now, the thing is, the most likely thing is they haven't done anything different than what they've said for the last like year. They've literally stayed with, they give you FOMC minutes, they follow through, they tell you they're going to do 3 rate cuts this year, they still say they're going to do 3 rate cuts. So if they do that, that would be bad, but most likely they're going to do what they say, and right now they feel like they're not in control of inflation, so you have to say rate raises have to be on the table or higher for longer at least, which could cause a banking crisis. I mean, Nvidia is a good buy at this price. If you look at this and you think that you should buy here, we need to maybe take my course that's down in the description if you think that this is a good place to invest your money. Meant that to be more funny. It did not come out. Anwa. Agree might break back of Fed. Who just said something about the Fed liquidity? Fed liquidity they just pumped some money into the market over the weekend. Oh God. Yeah. Nothing can go down. We're trying to make Biden president, guys. We need the stock market to go up. It's the only thing good he's said. Election years. Ugh. The market goes up for like no reason sometimes on election years, just because presidents probably promise a bunch of stuff all the time. Same. Can the market go up when there is no financial news coming out today? Yeah, so a lot of the time, unless you're seeing that gradual selling, kind of like the Qs actually. So 15 minutes. Sorry, I have you on the daily here. Let's actually go over to the Qs like this. This is the type of selling you can see when there's no real big bad news. Now, the thing is about this is why I'm like, I'm not seeing people in the chat. I'm not seeing you guys say that something like why is Apple selling off? Why is Google selling off? I don't necessarily see anyone talking about that, which means it might not be that important, which just could tell you this could be consolidating, and then we're seeing everyone rotate into Nvidia AMD. So even though you're seeing big names sell off hard, the Qs are slowly pulling back like this is just profit taking, and then we could see that reaction. That's what scares me, is like these big names are selling off, and that means money's rotating somewhere. If it keeps going into Nvidia, and then Nvidia sees a sudden drop, the whole market's toast based on like 5 stocks. Because Apple's already lower, because Google's already lower. Like, Jesus. This is a great trade, though, guys. We were talking about all these cup and handles that were going on in here. Look at this one. Look at this. It created the cup and handle here, and then it came all the way up to here. Got a tiny, like, not even downward handle here. Tiny little consolidation. And then it rips higher. Like, that's a great trade. That's what's will correct this week. I mean, there's definitely a possibility. Like, if you watch my YouTube video, like, I'm literally saying Jerome Powell can crash the market on Wednesday. So can the spicy lower prices? Without a crash, it can come all the way down to something like 506. We get some kind of pullback down into there, get a reaction. Oh, and right now you have to see this. You're in a huge wedge, right? You're in this very tight wedge. And we're at the end of it. So do I think a correction is coming? Yes. This week, I can't tell you, but I would say most likely Jerome Powell or CPI really starts to correct this market. If correct, how much will it correct? Right now, in the month of March, I think that we come down to this area right here, right around 490. I literally think that could happen in March or from March into April. So I think that we are going to stair step our way down. And then maybe get a bigger bounce, but we'll have to see from there. Yeah, CPI is something no one's talking about, which is hilarious because it ticked up the last time and we saw that big sell-off. That means that that's bad. And then at the same time, though, we just bought back up because the Fed told us that bad news is good news again. Yeah, Jerome Powell's on Wednesday at 9. Wednesday's the day I can stay on a little bit longer, so we'll stay on for Jerome Powell. Kind of see what we can read into. I like to take notes during and then just like bring up little points that he makes. But it's fun to see how the market reacts to him. Even this 2-hour pulling back would make sense, right? It would make sense for us to want to go all the way to the bottom here. Retest this area right up in here. This zone. That'd be a good little zone to retest. Boom, get some kind of bounce. Maybe you even get a lower high. And that starts to rip back down, unless CPI is going to be the catalyst. If CPI is going to be the catalyst, then this is most likely going to go like boom, and then we rip a little bit higher, and then we see that fall going into mid-March, end of March. But yeah, we'll be live for Jerome Powell, guys, so subscribe, like the channel, get some more people in here. Let's hang out for the day. We're going to be on here for about another hour. So be looking forward to that final little breakdown at the end of our video. We break down all the stocks that we do cover on this channel. Nvidia going back up towards 850. Google down 2.65. Apple 2.62. Okay, so Apple's trying to creep back up. Tesla's. Oh my gosh, that is like I wouldn't have expected this. But you can see a big head and shoulders here. Really, you can. Boom. Or maybe something smaller like these. Then you got this big thing here. So we could still see some kind of reaction to then drop lower in the near future. But it's just in an area where it could bounce. That's all. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Born to win. Win or die. I don't even know if that's the words. Yield crazy moves. See, you guys keep me in check. TLT breaking down. Oh, that's a good trade if anyone saw it. That's a good tiny little trade on the 15-minute here. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. I don't necessarily do these. So this is a big cup that created a small cup that's now created a tiny cup that now might create the miniest cup and then go up. Oh yeah, NYCB is definitely toast. And that's just your first red flag. You know how many banks that can happen to if we keep rates where they're at? At this point, I think the Fed is hoping that something breaks in the system because I don't think they want to raise rates again. It makes them look bad, like really bad. If they just come out and say, oh, something unexpected happened and no one could have saw it coming. That would be, I think maybe that might be their way to save face and keep their jobs. Damn, that was pessimistic as. Yeah, but pre-market, it can rip anytime. What do you think? That's what I'm saying. It broke through that level. It broke through that trend line. Yield's not getting the biggest move up, but the thing about yield, still in positive territory. We've seen this rolled over before. Really pay attention to what he says. We could get some kind of double top here if he says like, oh, we're going to have to cut rates because something is breaking. But he hasn't mentioned anything breaking. The only thing they have mentioned is they feel like they're not as in control of inflation. So that most likely will be talked about, and that will be very bad if he's honest when they talk about that. VIX, really paying attention to a daily now. We're down towards this gap fill. Still think we have a chance to retest maybe tomorrow or something. Come and fill that gap. But really this daily here, and once this turns up again in positive territory, I think it might be game over. Look at that 2-hour divergence starting to pop a little bit. If that's able to get into positive territory, that'd be a good thing for volatility, bad thing for the market. Now this hasn't happened yet. We still haven't gotten into positive territory. We could still get some kind of reaction up. get that reaction down and then see that bob back up. So we could see some fluctuation in price. That's what I was saying for the month of March. If you guys watch my weekend video, I think we're going to see some fluctuation in price this month. Some bigger swings start to happen while volatility grows in the market. All right. Apple still holding around that 174, 175 level. Palo Alto now down 2.64%. Nvidia still holding below that important level 850. And Google now down 2.65%. Still holding at the pretty close to the lows for Apple and Google here. Nvidia, let's just see. You see, this is actually a good thing though, okay? Just so you guys know, when you consolidate, we know that that resistance level is like 850, right? So when you consolidate before you break through that, that's actually a good shot to break through. You can get some little cupping like this going on. You can come fill this gap and then make that cup a little bit bigger. That'd be good to build liquidity, and then you start to go up. So from here, you can just consolidate in front of it as well. That's a good thing. And then you can see that cross up in positive territory if this kind of takes a little while. That would be very, very good for Nvidia. Still not going to invest at these levels. No, thank you. AMD, you finally have a 15-minute divergence. Now, how much you want to read into that, I would say be very careful. Look at this. This is all squeezing. There's barely any selling in it, right? So this is just squeezing, squeezing. Squeeze a little more. People take profit, squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. People take profit, squeeze even harder. So very hard to short stuff like this. Meta getting some weird 15-minute wicks. Someone really likes Meta at this 496 price point, or doesn't want Meta to come down right now. So that's crazy to think about. Tesla still breaking through lower levels, holding at lower levels at this point. Amazon going higher. Now this little 15-minute divergence actually does matter because there's other divergences behind it, like on a 2-hour. So if this divergence here proves anything, we might be seeing at least some kind of small pullback in Amazon as far as the next day or two goes. Now, if it wants to keep ripping, then the rug pull might be even worse. AMD, no, this isn't what I was looking at. Apple, I want to see Apple. Apple's still holding below that zone. I swear, the second you buy, they see Bank's reverse repo ends March 11th, correct? I actually haven't looked that up, to be totally honest. I don't want to tell you anything I don't necessarily know. I mean, we can try to look it up real quick. I only have it as probably in 2024 or early 2025, so they might be putting that off for a little bit. But that's all I see on my end, unless you have a better source. That's from February 1st. I don't have a hard date for that as of right now. Oh gosh. They pump more money into this thing. They're keeping it afloat. That would be a case of major market manipulation during an election year. That's crazy. Don't trade the week he speaks. Sammy, good advice. He is at Congress Wednesday, Thursday. Wait till the last 2 weeks of this month. Yeah, the next few weeks, that's why I was overall talking about some big price fluctuation for the most part in the next 2 weeks that I think inevitably ends with a crashing down, something breaking in the system. So it's not a bad take, Sammy. I actually like that take a lot. And that's kind of why the theme of last night's video was run and hide. You might want to just run and hide for a couple of weeks before this thing actually decides a direction. We can see some major bigger swings going through this week and next week. And that stuff can just eat you alive. You might see a lot of traps like we did the previous week. He's still not scared of this selling. It's just gradual selling. We saw that last week, just gradual sideways selling like this. We can see that again. I don't think it'll last as long. I really don't think it'll last this long. I think it'll consolidate and then make a move higher if it wants to make that move. But my goodness, what a move in the Qs. What a move. They talk about anything now. Just some tunage. They're just showing the overall market. And I know that people probably that are talking on TV and stuff right now are like, see, it's not that bad. People are just rotating into Nvidia. People are just rotating into this. We're not seeing that sell-off in the Qs, though. We're just not seeing that type of stuff. You'll see, once we're at these levels, the bullish people will start to become even more bullish, which might even happen by pulling back and going a little bit higher, right? We're still open to this continuing to be bullish until peak Euphoria is there. This wants to consolidate sideways, make a move higher. That would make sense. Like, you can push a little bit higher. Why does this have to sell off right now? Well, once we're up here and then Jerome Powell starts to talk, then we might have to be like, okay, this is a little bit scary now. But we could also get that lower high. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Really just looking at this like a hawk, seeing if it goes into negative or remains in positive. Then I know I have two options, probably to test this high, make a new one. Or if it goes negative, then I could say, hey, if this thing goes deep enough, we can start to see that resistance come in. So, but at this point, you got to say there's nothing, at least right now, that makes me sell. The only thing is I'm a forward-thinking trader, and I would sell before Jerome Powell talks and just kind of sit on the sidelines. One more push up. That's all it's going to take. One more push. Well, with this selling here, you literally, it's just like profit taking. You could see another push higher. The SPY, what about this looks weak? I mean, I know we're at a huge resistance point. We're at a huge point where it's very, very time to have the risk in your mind, right? So, but could we push higher? Well, we do have that trend up here that we're in some kind of little bit of a wedge here. So if we wanted to, we can see that roll up, get one more divergence maybe. Maybe up here is more where we're looking at for the SPY. Or is that just going to break down further? We get some kind of double top. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, but I wouldn't be surprised to see higher prices. I mean, Nvidia is going higher, just not able to break through 850. Palo Alto going down 3.33% now. Let's see if that wants to go down just a little bit further on Palo Alto. And now you may be creating some kind of 15-minute divergence. I'd really look 2 hour just crossing, though, in negative territory. Good shot, Palo Alto. Heading towards this zone again. AMD looking like a little bit of topping out on a 2 hour bar here. Meta, if this crosses over, that's not good either. So a lot of things that if they cross over, we can start to see that momentum really die out. It already has in a lot of these stocks. But Bitcoin still going strong. Let's go. 2 hour crossed over in positive territory. Boom. There's the positivity coming in. Daily side of things. Holy Krizap. We are going to the top here. Maybe we're even going to make a new high in Bitcoin. That would be crazy. So crazy. Pile in. It's never going down. No. We're going to hit a new all-time high in Bitcoin now, probably. Then we're going to see peak Euphoria. Right before Jerome Powell says something. Or CPI again. So, like I said, I think it's about to get a little crazy over the next few weeks. we'll keep our eye down below. Apple 174.40. Amazon up just a little bit. Tesla down almost 5% now on the day. That's pretty dang bad. Palo Alto 3.12% and Google almost 3% on the day. Still about to hit that 134. We're going to be hitting the bottom side of a lot of these, though. I know Apple's right at the bottom of it, so I really think we could see a little bit of a push higher. If we see some reactions down here and Nvidia starts to just keeps taking off. If it's able to break above 850, I'd be a little confident there. Dropped like a rock last time at 68,000. Yeah, and you got to think someone bought Bitcoin at 68,000. Someone bought it. So someone is just now making most of their money back. And when you think of it that way, you think, well, if that guy just went through all that pain for the last few years, then he might want to hit that sell button just like the other people did to him before and take his money back. Either that or he's going to get in the Euphoria and be like, yeah, it is going to 100,000. I told you. Yeah, someone mentioned that we saw that uptick, right? The Fed pumping more money in the system. Oh gosh, I would hate to be that accountant for them. Their balance sheet. Man, Google going down 3%, and I just bought a Google phone. God. Doesn't make me feel good about my purchase, guys. That's true. What are people leaning towards? A little bit towards the put side here. Nothing too crazy, though, honestly. That's not even that crazy, so we actually could see lower prices. I thought people would pile on puts all of a sudden and then we'd see a reaction, but the puts really aren't being piled on too much. 0.91, nothing to worry about. Does anyone have any trades going on this week? Who's got a good trade that they're really excited about? Who wants to share? Sorry about this light behind me. Yeah, the Fed's been stuck pretty much ever since they started. The Fed's been stuck. Once you start to follow data and react, that's like playing defense. And I'm sorry, but the best defense does not win championships. The best offense does, because offense is the first move and defense is the second. So if offense plays better than defense, it's bad. And therefore, by slowly reacting to it, you're allowing the data to win, and you're not going to. You pretty much should have increased quicker, like all right at once. We should have went through some quick pain, and then we could be talking about a turnaround by now. But because we decided to go this slow route, now it could drag out over the next. We could see it for 7 years. Yeah, every rich person on the planet's selling their stocks, so whenever you're saying, should I invest right now, just think that. What was your last phone? I had an Apple phone. I had a 12 Pro. I take pretty good care of my phones until I drop them in the street and they get run over by a car, but, you know. So I'm going off of iPhone to Google Pixel, the new one. I've wanted to get off iPhone for a minute. I feel like they steal the most of your data. Because I would get just call after call from them or from whoever all the time. I'd trade Dow Jones ETF. Dow Jones, I wonder how it's doing because it's been around this area for quite some time. We actually have a little handle here. On the shorter time frame, still in positive territory, so nothing really to worry about, but you did come up into my red trend there. Apple, no more innovation. Yeah, and like I was looking at this phone and I was like, it's so much cheaper, and I like the shape of it better. It doesn't have that big bar across the top. Sure, the iOS will take me a little bit of time. Or the operating system might take up me a little time to get used to because I've used Apple for a long time, but I'm like It's cheaper. I looked at the camera. I'm like, the camera's better. I don't see why I wouldn't take that phone. It's very, very nice. Apple's just made the same phone for the last, what, since the iPhone 10 almost. Amazon can get weak here. Apple, oh my goodness, that is so bad. Google too, consolidating at the lows. God, that is horrible. $2 billion fine. Okay, that's what I read too. I think someone mentioned that I read it on the news. It said something about a $2 billion fine. I just didn't know what it was. No biggie for Apple. It can still bounce. It's at the lower side of its weekly expected move on a Monday. That is something to pay attention to. Your likelihood of a bounce after this kind of sell-off is actually a little bit higher. As you approach that weekly expected move, you do have the probability for a bounce. Now that you broke through that important zone, though, you have to think, hey, how does Apple like to head down? Well, it likes to break through a zone, then bounce back up in it, even come to the top side of it, and then see that breakdown again. So Tesla officially down 5%. There you go, 5.24. It was down 5% earlier, but down again. Nvidia still holding near 850. Google down almost 3%, and Palo Alto 2.5. Sure, Tesla falling hard as well. Yes, it is. Scott, I'm short the QQQ. SQQQ. Okay, so you just bought the SQQQ. Not a bad play up in this area, honestly. Even if you see a pullback of, say, like 10%, you can make a quick 30% divergence here as well. Not the worst time to start looking at those short ETFs, that's for sure. Just be careful holding them for a long time. They do decay over time. Apple, that is really bad. Like, we're almost to the lows from October. That's kind of crazy. We are, I mean, obviously we're pretty far off. We're 10% off, but we could get there below the 200. That is horrible. Now, this is expected. This is the first one to cross on its monthly MACD, giving us that divergence on the monthly. Like, this is not unexpected by any means. We even got that daily divergence up here we've been mentioning with a weekly divergence up here. So we expected this to be the sell-off. Guess what? We are. Like, that's pretty crazy. If it's not able to hold up at this 20, yeah, this thing could just keep going. I'm going from monthly to a BlackRock. Yeah, they're expecting BlackRock to possibly buy at 60,000 or something like that again. I'm a little bit skeptical of that news. I think that's going to be a buy the rumors, sell the news event. Nvidia able to break above 850. Damn. Okay. I'm going to hop off, guys, but I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown real quick. Okay, so overall in this, we're seeing some things sell off pretty hard, but the thing is, we're still seeing things go up, as in Nvidia, AMD, SMCI, all that type of stuff. So this is just consolidation. If this wants to curl up one more time, wait, there's no divergences up here or anything. There's nothing telling you this should die out. If it wants to consolidate a little bit longer, that'd probably be better. And then we see that curl up in positive territory on this 15-minute. That'd be good. Same thing with the Qs. Getting a little bit of a sell-off here, but it's pretty controlled, even though we're seeing it sell off hard in a few stocks. Yeah, if this thing wants to, it can turn back up. We can see reactions from things like Apple, where it's at right now. We are by that weekly expected move. If you're part of the Patreon, it's down in the description, guys. It's a great time to join the Patreon. We're starting to do an update video every Wednesday just for Patreon members on Patreon. So this right here is by that weekly expected move. We could see some kind of reaction at this level. Banks are going to go through a lot of trouble with these rates where they're at. Seeing a divergence right now on Amazon, the reason you want to pay attention to this 15-minute divergence, you got 2-hour divergences across the board on Amazon as well, so that can roll stuff over. Going into Tesla, seeing that drop off, Not something you wanted to happen, right? We said this area here, very important. What do? We gap to that area and see that repeated selling. Not good news. Could get some kind of bounce for a retest. Nvidia heading to higher levels. Nothing telling you this has to go down. Really saying this can keep squeezing, especially if it holds above 850. So 850 is going to be a very important level to pay attention to. And AMD, similar story. Now you do have divergence here, right? But it's very hard to short something like this. This is a squeeze. This is a squeeze. This is a squeeze. So every time you short, this thing can squeeze you. Very hard to find a top in this. I would just say not the best time to invest in AMD. Lastly, Meta just kind of consolidating, kind of completing this cup, maybe getting some kind of handle, wants to head a little lower. I'm going to pay attention to 488.53. And then if we break that, look for my weekly expected move at that point. So hopefully that was a pretty good breakdown for you guys. We do have volatility that did break out to the upside here. Still could get some kind of reaction down and fill this gap, get a retest before that full-fledged volatility comes back into this market. So pay attention to all this kind of stuff today. Look for those MACDs to curl up. We could see more positivity in the overall market, but things are really starting to get sketchy out there. So be careful. I hope that you guys... Yeah, that's true. That's true, Sahan. The short squeeze, and normally I would never heard of a call squeeze. Maybe I'm wrong, but is there something like call squeeze? Something like call squeeze would just be, what is that, like a gamma flip squeeze or something like that. I mean, there can be. It just overall would say, like, overall you're going through a crash when that happens, and most likely the people on the call side are usually not like big players. Usually it's a ton of retail traders, and that's usually when stocks sell off. Usually retail traders are on the wrong side a lot of the time, and that's unfortunate, but market makers are good at manipulating the emotional side of things and going from there. But thank you guys so much for joining this morning. Thank you for liking the stream. We got some new subscribers in today, Wesley, Jab, and Enzo. Thank you guys for stopping by. It means a lot. Hit that sub button, hit that like button, and I'll be back for this video tonight on YouTube. So tune back in tonight to get a little bit of information. We'll break down what happened throughout the rest of the day. And then going into Wednesday, we will be live Wednesday and Thursday for Jerome Powell Talking. So come on back. Thank you guys for joining. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I will see you guys tonight and tomorrow.